curves is next. I'm going to cancel out of levels, sadly, and lose all of my work. And I'm going to introduce you now to curves. Now, curves is a high-powered version of levels. So let's go and check him out here. Image, and then down to adjustments, and then there he is, curves. I love using curves as well. Controller Command M on your keyboard if you are so inclined. And we get this massive dialog box, this massive curves dialog box showing up. What makes curves different from levels is the following. First of all, we still have the histogram, right? We still have the shadow slider and the highlight slider, or said a different way, the black point and the white point, which we can manually set here. Right away, I can start getting a half-decent looking image just by tugging these guys in just a little bit on this washed out looking image, right? But where the difference is here is we have this luminance curve inside the histogram, inside the curves dialog box, hence the name curves. So what I can do here is I can start messing around with those grays, the midtones, right? So what I can literally do is drop a point along this curve, just single click on that point, and now I can start bending this curve. Maybe I want to pull the luminance levels at this point in the histogram back down towards the dark areas, or maybe I want to pull them up back towards the light areas. So we have the horizontal black to white, and then we have the vertical black to white as well. So if I drag this dot down closer to the bottom, I'm pulling all the luminance levels at this point in the histogram down to the blacks, down to the shadows. Or I can pull them up to the light areas, really blow out my image, something like this, right? And you can drop these luminance points anywhere along the curve, and you can adjust your curves up, down, left, right. So it's sort of like it's like working with levels, but in two different directions instead of one direction. Instead of just left and right, it's up and down as well as left and right. So pretty soon you start getting an image that looks really great or really terrible, depending on how you're doing there. Once again, we have the preview checkbox, so we can, get that before and after look there. That looks really good to me. I'm quite happy with that. I want to show you something else that we could do, though, with curves if we were so inclined. You can also do this with levels, by the way, as well. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option. I'm going to go ahead and reset the dialog box. And inside the Levels dialog box and also inside the Curves dialog box here, we have some eyedropper tools. We have the black point eyedropper, we have the white point eyedropper, and we have the gray point or the midtone eyedropper. So check this out. What I could do, if I want to set the black point and the white point, is I can use my sliders. That's perfectly fine. We've already seen how to set the black point and the white point using the sliders. Or what I could do is I could grab the black point eyedropper and I could go and find a color value inside the image that I want to use as the starting point, if you will, for the black point. In other words, I can set the black point by clicking on a color value or a luminance level inside my image window, right? So let's say maybe these darker areas down inside some of the shadows of my image. I single click on that. What happens is that color value, that luminance level, and any luminance level that preceded it are now clipped or remapped to 100% black. Okay, so in other words, our image just got a whole lot darker. Okay, and I could do the same on the light side. I could grab my white point eyedropper and I could go and click on a light area inside my image. Now, if I click on the sky is already blown out on this image, unfortunately, so by clicking on him, I'm just remapping, it might be 2% black or, something like this. Remapping that from 2 to 0 doesn't really do a whole lot. But if I clicked on maybe a slightly darker area inside the image, single click on that, there you can see that background way back there. Let me undo that. I'm just going to hit Controller Command Z on my keyboard. This area here way back, my horizon there, single click on that. What's happened there is the luminance levels from that point forward have now been remapped to the white point, to 0%, right? So that's what we have there. Now we have a much more high contrast image. Now, do I like this? I'm not sure. You know, it is still looking pretty hot to me. I'm not sure if I like the colors here. So again, what I could do inside the curves dialog box is I could get in here and I could start focusing on my specific color channels. For example, my reds to me are looking a little bit too hot. So maybe I'll pull them out just a little bit, something like this, right? My greens, maybe I want to punch my greens up a little bit. So get into my greens here and adjust them. You know, something like this. And not just, again, the black point and the white point for this specific channel, but also any of my gray points throughout each color channel as well. So Curves gets a lot more advanced, but as you can see, it gives you a lot more control over your color correction as well. It's up to you. It might be a little bit too much for you, but I certainly love using my Curves because it gives me so much control.